We just started the video before we started because Russell started preaching to me. So I just decided to start the video. This is the hardest question, year A, ordinary 27. Go, just pick up where you left off.
I couldn't help it, but this just happens to be a text, which, I mean, I'm not putting this in there. It truly is about upending the social order. So
all right.
It's what's in the Bible. So here we have this landowner.
We're in the middle of a bunch of vineyard parables.
Vineyard parables, right. And we've had a landowner before in the past where the landowner goes out to hire people. And that seems like clearly God, because God is changing the calculus of the social order about who's in and how people are valued. Here we have a landowner, and we think, okay, again, we have God here, right? Because he builds this he builds this vineyard, digs a wine press, puts a wall around it, a watchtower, and then rents it out to these tenants. Well, the tenants don't pay. When he sends people to collect, they kill them, you know? Then it's the classic three. And the third one the landowner sends is his son. Oh, his son, you mean like Jesus? And then they kill him, you know?
Right.
So we think, oh no, what's going to happen? And so what's the landowner going to do, Jesus asks? When he finds out his son's been killed, he's going to make sure that he puts those wretches to a miserable death. Is that what God does when they kill Jesus? No, this cannot be God and Jesus.
Right.
What here, the landowner is the bad guy here. We can only say that because can you imagine in first century Palestine owning property in another country that's not your own?
No, I guess not.
No, so that must be somebody. How does somebody give it? That is granted to you by the Roman Empire or by some local thing.
Okay.
And it's not your property. You know how you have property back then? It's your family property, right?
Sure.
So if you have this property in another country, you did not get that by any beautiful and pure way. You're an absentee landowner, owner.
Right, or I guess you got it.
Force.
Yeah, right, like you got it by force, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You won it in a battle or something.
Right, exactly. Or somebody gave it to you out of
or you're
tribute.
in cahoots with the Roman governor.
Exactly. So that's the only. So these people who refuse to give, you know, the tenants who are renting it.
Right.
I can imagine that they're probably their original owners of the property, even. You know. Their family has been on that property for a long time, and so when this foreigner comes and says, now give me what is mine, they're like, this is not yours, this is ours, it has been forever. So I think that this is an act of rebellion. I don't know, it's just, I don't know.
But then what do you do with,
where's the good news in here?
What do you do with Matthew's little twist at the end when he basically puts into the mouth of Jesus that this is about sacrifice, and the son was a sacrificial offering, and you almost, at times like this, I almost think like, is Matthew trying to clean up an otherwise really uncomfortable parable that he inherited in the oral tradition of Jesus?
That just so weirdly makes sense because we have very clear evidence that when God sends his son and he's killed, God doesn't put everybody to a miserable death.
As a result.
No, he uses this death of that son as a way to bring salvation to the entire world.
Right.
So I don't know. This is a hard one.
And the chief priests and Pharisees heard the parables. They realized he was speaking about them. And they wanted to arrest him, but they feared the crowd. I mean, it's just a funny twist at the end because it's kind of a terrible text, a text of terror.
Yes, yeah.
And then at the end, Matthew ends it with a pithy little maxim from Jesus, the stone the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone.
See, and this is what makes me mad about Matthew. I have totally saved God's reputation here and figured out a way to read this text.
And Matthew couldn't.
In a way that has got good news in it. But then Matthew's got to put that little thing at the end.
Where were you in the first century when God needed you to write a gospel?
Oh my goodness. Well, this has been the hardest question, and we would be really anxious to hear how you are going to preach on this very difficult text.